So here we are. Here we are on December the 26th, 2021. And throughout the year, we've been looking at the global theme of timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. And when we first started this global theme of timeless wisdom and the evolutionary vision, I wondered to myself, as I do with every yearly theme, is, aren't we going to exhaust this topic? And how many ways can you say the same thing over, or how many different ways can you talk about the same thing and keep it interesting? And I've been so pleasantly surprised, and I want to thank Reverend Judy Osuna and Reverend Kevin Cottle for keeping this theme alive within our community and assisting in really enlivening this whole yearly theme of timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. I know that if I had to speak 52 Sundays this year, I would have probably ditched all of this stuff and said, no, forget it. Let's talk about something else. And yet, what we've been able to accomplish this year is really looking at this idea of the timeless wisdom, which once upon a time was also called ancient wisdom. Ancient wisdom, though, makes it sound as if it's antiquated. And so I applaud our committee that actually named it timeless wisdom, because even though it is ancient wisdom, it is timeless, meaning that it has its place in the 21st century. It has its place in our life today. And this timeless wisdom coupled with this evolutionary vision. So yes, this wisdom that transcends time, that is so present right here and right now, yet what's important is that we have this evolutionary vision, that we're able to take what is and still look at our future and still prepare for the times to come. I know that when we first started 2021, that at least I was hoping and praying, and it looked like we might be turning a corner, and that this COVID-19 would be a thing of the past. I mean, as I look at the various months and how well not only the United States, but the world was doing in preventing lockdowns and things of that nature. And yet here we are. We find ourselves one more time in the month of December working with COVID, working with new variants and new strains, and looking at how we can have some evolutionary vision. Like, what is really happening here? And it's important for us not to lose hope, not to lose our faith. So as we look at the 2021 theme, timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision, this year I get to wrap up this journey of becoming. And when I was asked to write this talk for Centers for Spiritual Living, I had no clue where we would be. But in fact, this is indeed the light of a new dawn. The light of a new dawn, in that because we cannot predict the future, we can only indeed know this moment. That when we looked at timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision, that the most important part was being fully present and asking ourselves, am I fully present on this journey of becoming? What's interesting is that at Centers for Spiritual Living, as a global organization, we see a world that works for everyone, and we envision a world of unity. We envision a world where there's one global family. We envision a world that respects and honors diversity and interconnectedness. I mean, these are our core values. What we know is that each of us is the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent way that spirit shows up in human form. I don't care how often I remind us of this. This is one of my favorite phrases, one of my favorite things to remind myself, and that as I hear myself say it, and that as I say it to you, that you grab onto it, that you believe it, that you know it to be the truth, that you are the unique, unrepeatable, magnificent way that life, that spirit, that God expresses. So, act like it. Act like it. Act like it. Imagine for a moment that you are indeed the unique, unrepeatable way that life is showing up. How are you living in that truth for yourself right now? You know, we are able to manifest for ourselves joyous possibilities that, irrespective of the world of effects, irrespective of anything out there, your life, my life, is the life of God. And that from this place, that I am the one who makes myself anything. That you are you, I am I. I am not responsible for the world of effects. I am responsible for me. So when I'm responsible for me, then the world of effects changes. But when I try to change it from out there, when I try to change it from out there, from changing things, it's not going to work. I want to pause for a moment to honor the life of Desmond Tutu, who just made his transition. What an amazing soul who spoke of social issues, who was anti-apartheid, who made a difference in the world. And he made a difference in the world because he first checked in here, right? He first made a difference within. And that once we make the difference in here, then we can make a difference in our world. So I love saying this, and especially now in light of Desmond's transition. And that is, I am the ancestors. I am the ancestor the future generation speaks of. Take that in for a moment and actually say it to yourself. I am the ancestor the future generation speaks of. Mind-blowing, huh, Bertha? I am the ancestor the future generations speak of. You know, it's easy maybe to take a look at the person next to you, in front of you, if you're on Zoom, the person in the other square. It's easy to look at them and go, yeah, they're going to make a huge difference in the world, or they're making a difference in the world. But who you are is also making a difference in our world. So, what kind of difference are you making? You know, are you going to be known as the trailblazer? woohoo, like a Desmond Tutu? Or are you going to be known as a bridge burner? Are you going to be known as someone who embraced these principles and practices and made a difference in life? Or are you going to be known as the person who talked the talk but did not walk the walk? You see, in this journey of becoming, what's the sense of becoming if we're not actually becoming? And part of becoming is actually being, and that's why we're called human beings. And if we are, what is the way that we're currently being? Am I being true to this philosophy and this teaching? Am I being true to myself? Am I speaking my truth? Am I calling it like it is? Am I engaged in these spiritual practices to such a degree that my life is changing irrespective of what's happening in our world? I want to share with you these qualities. These qualities are the qualities of spirit, of life. Pick one. Pick one that resonates with you, whether it's artistry or generosity or melody and harmony or power or balance or divine order or peace or freedom or joy or health. And I'm not saying just pick one for the sake of picking one. I'm inviting you to be with this list and actually make this list manifest in your life. Make one of these qualities manifested in your life. My dear friend Cynthia James, she says, every person on this planet has the ability to express and radiate these qualities. The people you place on pedestals are simply the people who remember that they have an extraordinary essence. The people that you put on a pedestal are simply the people who remember that they are an extraordinary essence. What I want to tell you is that you are an extraordinary essence. That because you are the unique and unrepeatable, magnificent, powerful, joyful way that spirit shows up in human form, that you are already that extraordinary essence. Act like it. Remember it. Remember to engage in what you know to be the truth. So here's how these people that you put on pedestals, right? When she says here, the people, she says, the people you place on pedestals are simply the people who remember that they have an extraordinary essence, right? Do you know how it is that they remember? I bet you guessed. They remember because they engage in spiritual practices. They engage in these methods. They engage in these practices that help them to easily remember who they really are. So are you engaging in daily meditation? Are you engaging in daily prayer and affirmation? Are you engaging in study or journaling or visioning? And weekly, just by coming here every week, you're engaging in the beloved community. But are you also in sacred service? Are you receiving spiritual counseling? Are you practicing giving as a spiritual practice? This is how those people that you put on pedestals, this is how they remember that they are an extraordinary essence. They remember because they're engaged in spiritual practices. They're engaged in these things on a regular basis so that they don't forget. Remember a few months ago, I taught you that word in sign language, forget is wiping away of the brain. Forget, so that they don't forget, they engage in these daily practices. Now, I once heard it said that music is the soundtrack to our life. And if someone were to write a movie about your life, what would that soundtrack be? If you were to write a movie and put together the soundtrack right now, you know, what songs would be in your movie right now? You know, would they be songs of doom and gloom and oh, how my husband left me and how my wife left me and you know, even my horse left me. Even the horse done left, you know. Yeah, I lost my car. You know, like what is the soundtrack of your life? You know, music for me, and especially, you know, in our family, music is a big deal. And so I love writing songs about the goodness of life, about how great life is. I like writing songs about that feeling of oneness, that feeling, that absolute feeling of knowing that my life is the life of God. I love writing songs about love. I love writing songs about guidance and fulfilling my calling and letting go of the years that no longer serve me and letting that go and embracing the goodness of life. I wonder right now if you were to write a song that would inspire you to remember your essence, what the title of that song is. I'm going to invite you to write it in the chat. Put it down in the chat, and if I see it in there, I'll go ahead and mention some of the song titles of your life. But I encourage you to not just only take this as some part of my talk today, but that because music is a major part of our life, that we begin to actually create and maybe put together a song list, a playlist of music. I love it. Thank you, Cynthia. Chintzia says her song is I'm in Balance and Happy. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I love that. I'm in balance and happy. I love that. So here's what I'm inviting us to take a look at. Is by means of our spiritual practice, we live our amazing life. By means of our spiritual practice, we live our amazing life. And so our spiritual practice includes music. It includes those messages. Music is like a prayer, right? Okay, so I see more song titles coming in. I got spiritual healing. Not like Marvin Gaye's song. Surrounded by Love, Stairway to Heaven, Three Little Birds, Every Little Thing's Gonna Be All Right. Happy holiday to you too, Chris. I love this. I love every time you say this. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, what's so great, and even here, Sunny Day says, step into the light, step into the love, step into the truth of who you are. And I just call to say, I love you. I mean, when I think about music being part of our spiritual practice and the lyrics, I mean, we've just come out of a holiday where, you know, songs take you back and they help you reminisce on days of the past. But what I'm here to say is that today you can create and write a song or even just a little chant for yourself so that you're living your best life, that you're creating your best life one day at a time. Today, as I mentioned earlier, is December the 26th, and it's a day to celebrate and focus on umoja. Umoja is the Swahili word for unity. And in African American culture here in the U.S., well, Kwanzaa is becoming a large celebration every year. And it's 7 days of family principles and family values and community responsibility and commerce and self-improvement. Again, these are all values that we at Centers for Spiritual Living take seriously. These are indeed principles that when we focus upon these principles and bring them to light and celebrate them, that we are indeed setting ourselves up for success. We're setting ourselves up for simply being in the present moment and then becoming those people that we put on our pedestal. That because we're being present and because we're being in spiritual practice and because we are singing songs that remind us of the truth of who we are, that we are the ancestors that future generations are going to be talking about. That we are the ones that are the trailblazers. That we're the ones who say, hey, life is worth living and you are the unique and unrepeatable way that God is showing up in human form. And when we recognize this principle of unity, when we recognize that there is no me without you, when we recognize that there is one power, one presence, one life, and that it is expressing in, through, and as each and every one of us, we recognize this unity. We recognize this oneness. We recognize that we need each other. We recognize that the same breath of life, that life that is within me, is indeed that life that is animating you and that is within you. And so the call to action is this, is for you to find that balance of where we allow our past to be our teacher. Because I'm not saying to forget the past. What I am saying is that we learn from our past life, our past living. We learn what works, what doesn't work. We learn what we want to experience again and what we don't want to experience again. And so there is a balance of learning from the past. There is a balance in having that evolutionary vision, where I want to go, what I want to do, who I am becoming, where I want to live, how I want to live. And then there is that balance of simply being fully present. Fully present. And in that being fully present is where our spiritual practices really take root. Because for me, it is when I'm in the depths of my meditation or the depths of my prayer or the depths of my visioning that I recognize and that I know that my life is God. I don't know that in the future. And the past is already gone. I can only know that in this moment. And by me being fully present in this moment, it is here that anchors into every fiber of my being. I could only tell you so much that you are the unique and unrepeatable way that God is showing up in human form. I can only speak these words to you each and every week, each and every Sunday, each and every time we have a conversation. But it is not until you pause and actually accept these words, accept that in your own practice, and begin to know it for yourself. It is only then where a quickening happens. It is only in those now moments when you say yes to this truth about yourself. And so that's the invitation. That's the call to action. To surround yourself with joyous music. Make your own music. Remember that you are the ancestor that future generations are speaking about. So who I am being now, who you are being now, makes a difference. Remembering that our life is the life of God. You are the ancestors that future generations speak of. What will they be saying about you? I want to end with this quote from Ernest Holmes. Every person is surrounded by a thought atmosphere. This mental atmosphere is the direct result of thought, which in turn becomes the direct reason for the cause of that which comes into your life. Now, this comes from Creative Mind and Success. So every person is surrounded by a thought atmosphere. What Ernest is saying here is that we are surrounded by a thought atmosphere. And that this atmosphere is a direct result and then becomes the reason and the cause from what comes into your life. So what are you creating in your thought atmosphere? The moment we stay fully present in spiritual practice, the moment we engage in recognizing a quality, being in that, being engaged in our spiritual practice, the moment we accept that we are the ancestors future generations are talking of, the moment we accept the Umoja principle, that principle of unity, there we go. We have these thoughts now in our thought atmosphere. It reminds me of, who is that? Linus from Charlie Brown, right? Is that right? Is he the one with the little dust cloud constantly? No, which one is that one?
Pigpen.
Pigpen. Thank you. Yeah, Linus is the one with the blanket. Pigpen is the one with that dust atmosphere. Imagine for a moment your atmosphere, that thought atmosphere, that whatever's in that thought atmosphere, you are becoming. You are becoming that thought atmosphere. Let us begin to fill that thought atmosphere with our music, with uplifting music, with our spiritual practice, with those qualities, with that principle of unity, that we might indeed make future generations proud when they speak your name and they say, yes, this is the ancestor that has been a trailblazer, that has brought forth not only the science of mind principles, but a manner of living which honors and respects and uplifts all. Know that you are loved. Let's take a moment in prayer. How grateful I am in this moment. Grateful to see December 26, 2021. To see this first day of Kwanzaa. To see the last Sunday in 2021. To be a part of those living in human form. How grateful I am to know that there's one power, one presence, one life, that life is God, that life is my life now. And to know that that which is true of God is true for me. To recognize the affirmation for this week that life is all I am and all I am is life. How grateful I am for this spiritual community, Vida Spiritual Learning Center, formerly known as the Downey Center for Spiritual Living. How grateful I am for all spiritual communities that are uplifting and reminding us of the truth of who we are, that right where we are, the presence and the power and the love of God is fully expressing. Grateful for our health and our wholeness, and grateful for the abundance, and grateful for the peace that passes all human understanding. I simply speak a word of blessing upon all those within the sound of my voice, knowing that right where you are, God is. So for this, I give thanks. It is so, and so it is.